Whoops. Wrong one. And welcome to the CSS podcast. I'm your host, Dave. He's Charlie. That's Sam. And thanks for listening today. We have a jam-packed show for you. In the week that was, we will be talking all the Bearcats hiring news, the Crosstown Showdown, the Battle for Ohio, and we'll also give our confidence bowl picks. Our topic of the week will center on the best rivalries in sports, where we'll give our top 5 to 8 best rivalries, and then collectively we'll narrow it down to a CSS top 5. But before we get into any of that, especially the week that was, go ahead and please hit that like button, subscribe, turn on the notification, and tell all your friends and coworkers about the latest CSS podcast. You can find us on all your podcasting platforms. Let's look for this episode on YouTube later this week. So, gentlemen, how was your week?
I was good. Can't really complain. I like to see UC beat X, but oh well.
Yeah. I'm a little congested still. I was sick over. Finally the COVID got to me. I'm on Thursday, so we are actually recording this on Tuesday instead of our typical Sunday. So with that, I'll try to make it through without coughing too much or sounding horrible. But let's go ahead and get into the week that was. And the first one we'll talk about is the Cincinnati Bearcats hiring Scott Satterfield from Louisville. So what are your thoughts on the hire, gentlemen?
So having a couple days here to kind of think about it, my initial thoughts were this kind of seemed like a out of left field. We hadn't really seen his name circulate through the process at all. And then kind of, sitting on it here a couple days, I'm still not entirely thrilled with the hire. It's not his first Power 5 job. He came from Louisville. He was 7-5 this year, I believe. I think his best year was 8-4 at Louisville. That doesn't really give me a whole lot of confidence with UC moving into a power conference. And then another thing, kind of whenever you take a coach from another school, especially one that's kind of a lateral move, the school that he comes from, if they don't seem upset that he left, I don't know that that's a good sign. It kind of seemed like Louisville fans, Louisville media was like, all right, that's like, you did us a favor. We don't have to fire him and buy him out. So I guess we'll just kind of have to wait and see, but I'm not really too fond of the hire.
Charlie, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely the wait and see guy. I would look at it this way: if he goes 7-5 or 8-4 next year, I think that's a great job. I think he did an awesome job moving to the Big 12 and as a coming out of the AAC crapville and going to the Big 12. I mean, I think that would be. I mean, that's 11-0 in the AAC or 11-1 or whatever. So. I'm hoping 7-5 at 8-4 next year or 8-4 next year. That'd be great. My only hesitation is what Sam said about that. I have a really, really good friend who's a Louisville guy. He's Mr. Louisville. All he ever wants to talk to me about is Louisville, and I don't give one shit about it. But he was. I mean, he wasn't happy. He wasn't upset. He said that Satterfield did an okay job. There wasn't any major issues with him. He just wasn't exciting. He wasn't. He didn't really, get him to the next level that they were hoping he would. This year he had a really good recruiting class coming in. I don't know what's going to happen with that class or whatever. I think we got one guy so far from that recruiting class is coming to Cincinnati, and we have one Louisville player who has transferred to Cincinnati, an offensive lineman, the elder kid. So, I'd love to see more of that, raid them, especially if some of that recruiting class guys, and then of course the decommits, whether they will recommit, transfer portal guys, all that. So all that stuff I think will work itself out. But overall, I'm going to give him a chance. I mean, I remember Luke Fickell wasn't everybody wasn't cheering on Luke Fickell and was the greatest hire ever. He's boring as hell. He was not very good when Ohio State was not very good when he was the coach that one year. So he didn't come in with, with a bunch of accolades and things, and see what happened with that. So, I do like that he has Power 5 experience. He's gone from, he went from I think he was at App State when they moved from whatever smaller, like FCS or whatever it was called, to FBS. So
Yeah,
I think that was attractive to Cunningham making a transition like that. So I'd probably prefer. I'm okay with the fact that he's got the head coaching experience as opposed to some new guy that they pulled out of the MAC or some whatever. But I've read a lot, and I think it's true. Like, there just wasn't there wasn't really that exciting of possibilities out there. I mean, even the names we were talking about, other than Deion Sanders, and he's total wild card. It wasn't like there was some, this assistant or something who was out there that was like going to be a grand slam. So I'm good. I'm good either way. Or I'll see what happens.
Yeah. A couple of points there, Sam, when you said that, Louisville's fan base isn't real. I mean, they're like kind of excited that he left. 6 years ago, or when Louisville job opened up, they came after, or not 6 years ago, I guess it was 4 years ago when it 4 years ago when it opened up. They came hard after Jeff Brom, who was at Purdue, but he had that real good recruiting class coming in, and it was this class here that won the Big Ten West, and he didn't feel it was right, the right time to go to Louisville, and so that's why the fan base was happy for him to leave, because they finally got their guy
yeah.
in Braun. And then Purdue just made the hire. Illinois' defensive coordinator. Yeah. So that's I didn't see that coming, but that's for another show. But yeah, and Satterfield being a Power 5 coach, great recruiter. I mean, he had a top recruiting class, and I think he'll be able to sell the University of Cincinnati and get probably more national kids to come, hopefully. He's got connections in North Carolina, so he's got connections that region, plus connections then in Louisville and South. So we'll see what he can do. And, I agree with you, Charlie, 8-4, 7-5, I think will be a pretty good first year in the Big 12. So hopefully, we'll be able to keep our recruits and maybe get a couple in the transfer to come to Cincinnati as well. So, pretty much it's just a wait and see. From our point of view, let's give the guy a chance and let's see what he can do, and hopefully, the Bearcats can, make us proud in the Big 12.
Yeah, I mean, right. and I think Louisville to Cincinnati is an upgrade. I mean, it didn't surprise me. I mean, yeah, he was kind of had level off there too. Cincinnati. The fact that Cincinnati was in the AAC and they had a higher national profile than Louisville, who was in the ACC, I mean, that tells you right there. So, something wasn't going right at Louisville. That they should have a higher profile than any AAC team, and they hadn't. I mean, so maybe that's his fault, and maybe that's part of what we'll find out over the next few years, that it's just not, he's just not good enough. So.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. Big game of the week was Saturday, and Xavier traveled 3 miles up the road into Clifton for the battle of the Crosstown Showdown, or shootout. I guess it's a shootout now, isn't it? Isn't it back to the shootout?
Yeah, they changed it back.
Yeah, they were calling it shootout.
Yeah. So let's give a little recap of that. Lost, what was it, 80-77? Final score, overtime. Takeaways.
I love the way that they fought back in the second half, but man, you can't go down 17.
Not at home.
That you just can't. Not at home, not in a rivalry. I mean, it was awesome that they fought back. DeJulius hit 2 just awesome and ones there on the step back and then the 3-pointer. But yeah, you dig yourself that big of a hole. Yeah, I mean, you can maybe reach back up to the top, but then somebody hits you again with a shovel and you're right back down. So it it's good to see that fight. Hopefully they can keep that second half performance, can kind of make that the new norm. But
So do you need Kenyon Martin sitting on your bench yelling at him then all the time?
Sure.
Because
maybe
apparently he walked into the locker room and just chewed some butt and then came back out, and they had this performance of a lifetime.
Yeah, maybe get him on the bench. I don't know that he's going to want to take an assistant coaching job, but
just motivational speaker. That's all. Just come in periodically, just to chew some butt, like Bob Huggins used to do.
Yeah, I wasn't able to watch much of the first half. I didn't really get the game on until after halftime. So, to me, UC looked like the better team, but I guess not in the first half. That wasn't the story
first
at
half,
all.
They couldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat. I mean, it was bad. Bad. And that was going to be my take is, like I said at the beginning of the year, if UC's outside shooting doesn't improve, it could be a long season for them. And first half was horrible. Second half was so much better. Their shooting was better. Their defense picked up and created some easy shots for them. But, they can't get down 17 points to a rival and expect that kind of performance in the second half all the time, because it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been UC for how many years now? They don't have outside, consistent outside shooting. They don't.
Yeah.
That goes back to the Bob Huggins days when, he got to the point where he was just bringing athletes in, and most of them couldn't shoot. So, yeah, that's nothing new there. And, nothing beyond what you guys said with it. It was a great second half. And, I wish they could have, the last play, obviously, it was a foul. As much as I didn't want it to be a foul, it was a foul on the, and they fouled the guy to make the shots, and, they could have they just needed one more defense, good defensive possession, and it just didn't happen. So.
Yeah. It is a foul, but I hate that foul so much, that the drive where, he's not even trying to make the layup. He's strictly going in to try and get the foul. I get that it's a foul, but I think the rule just needs to be changed on that. Because, what's the big supposed to do? Just not contest? And then the offensive player can jump into him, create the contact, and be rewarded for it. I just don't like how the rule's set up. But by the rule, it is a foul. So, it's tough to lose that way.
Well, yeah. And, I looked at it as, there for a while, officials were letting them play, letting the last pretty much 10 seconds go, and there was like some bad missed calls, and I think they're trying to clean that up a little bit. It was a foul, as much as, and you don't want them to call it in that situation. Every UC fan, if we were at Xavier and we were up and we drove and the foul wasn't called, we would be complaining big time that there should have been a foul. It was a foul. Why didn't they call the foul? That kind of thing. So, to say that it wasn't, it was. And I don't think people are arguing that at all. I think they're arguing or complaining more or less. It's like, you let them play physical for, 2 halves and then 4 minutes of overtime, and then you call something like that. I think that was the big takeaway. But I just want you to ask your opinion on Wes Miller's timeout. Do you think it was?
I get what he was going for.
It was why?
But,
I'm
as
a coach.
Yeah, the only thing of it is that it may have been a stroke of pure brilliance. It's just no one else does it. So I think in a way it totally makes sense. So
yeah, when he explained it in the press conference and stuff, it's like, that makes a lot of sense. But as a coach, I don't like giving away free points, and you call a timeout right there. And the reason I probably wouldn't have called, I mean, I probably wouldn't have thought of that,
Right. That's what I'm saying. That's why it's something like,
yeah.
I think it might have been cutting
Right.
edge, to do what he
It
did.
might have been, but, yes, you had 1.4 seconds left. I mean, how many buzzer beaters have we seen with 1.4 or less? And you had
happened to UC.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
With several years
you
ago
have,
in the AAC tourney.
Julius, who hit 2 big shots for you, he's feeling it.
2 freak shots.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You ride that, and
yep.
You ride that. You take a shot at it, because now you put the onus back on Xavier not to foul you going crazy like that, and you might actually get lucky and make that shot. Whereas calling that timeout, okay, now he gets 2 free throws. Pretty much, I mean, yeah, there are pressure free throws, but still, it's 2 free throws. He hits both of those free throws. Now you're down 3 instead of 1. Now
your lucky shot just ties the game.
Well, and then they get to set up their defense, right? And they get to set up their defense, in which they put the big guy. I don't know if it was Fremantle or Nunji on the ball, and they deflected it. So
I think the main
shot off.
Yeah, I think the main thing is that you could get a better shot. With what he did, you could get a better shot than you're going to get from before. So if he makes it and you tie it, you're happy. Who cares that it's just tied, that you didn't win the game? I mean, the whole place would have gone crazy if he would have made it to tie the game. So I think the whole point was, in which situation am I going to get a better shot? The Julius grabs a rebound at 0.9 seconds, turns. He had 1 dribble. He was shooting. That was the next. Before the refs blew the whistle, he was turning to shoot, and that was 3 quarters. He was at the free throw line to take that shot. Whereas you throw the ball in, you could get it to half court if it works. Now, it didn't work, but I'm not basing on the results. I'm basing on what possibility could happen. Right. So you do Grand Hill, you get it to the free throw line, or you get it to even the half court, and you got a legitimate. That's much more makeable shot than what Julius was getting ready to do. I mean, you could see. I mean, you could just see the clock. He knew what was going on. Like, he had as soon as he grabbed the ball, turned. He already had taken that 1 dribble. He was only at the free throw line. He was shooting. That's not going in. I mean, that's from the free throw. I mean, from the half court. If it works and you get it at the half court, that could go in. I mean, guys make half court shots all the time. So that's my take.
Well,
I'm not basing on the results.
As someone who has made a shot from the opposing free throw line, it can go in.
Okay, but what's the percentages though? Compare the percentages.
Well, I'm 1 for 1, so but I guess that's just me. But
okay, next time you're in town, we'll go to the court. Let's see what your percentages are, and with no pressure, nobody there. Let's see how you do. I'll even put money on it. I'll even put a money on it, and let's see how we do. I'm gonna walk out of there with buying some Christmas gifts. So.
Fair enough. But I don't know. He hit 2 free shots. I'm not disagreeing with the timeout at all. I think if the inbounds play would have worked, it's a much better option. I completely agree with that. I just would have liked to see the Julius, because he got that outlet pass. He had plenty of time to take a dribble and get a good look off, as good a look that you can get from that position on the court. It wasn't a scramble situation. It wasn't, kind of turn around and just heave it. Like, he caught it in rhythm, in motion. He's going to put the ball down once and get up a look. I'd have liked to see it, but they didn't. And like I said, I don't disagree with taking the timeout at all.
What would have sucked is if he
did take it and hit it.
Shot, hit it, but they called the timeout.
Yeah. Right. That would have been bad.
Well, and if you look, so the 2 officials that were closest, they were not calling the timeout. It was because Miller had during the free throw before, it told the official closest to him, "Hey, when he misses this, I want a timeout. I know what's going to happen." Because usually officials won't. They know you're out of timeouts. They won't, in that situation, call a timeout for you. So, it was heads up on him that he took the actions that he needed to take to ensure that he got it.
And it depends on, I mean, granted, how quickly they blew that whistle, because normally if the ball is above the free throw line, then it goes, free throw line extended out of bounds on the side. But they had to take it underneath the basket. So
because of the technical.
That's right.
Because of the technical aspect. If it was just a straight miss, they'd have got it on the side there. But
so
because of
the
the
technical, they had to go the whole length of the floor. So
Yep.
Well, I mean, we'll see. We'll see if more coaches follow suit in that situation.
Yeah, that's what's going to be interesting.
And then if they do, then hey, tip your hat to Wes, and
Well, what it'll be is if more coaches start doing that, they'll start putting it'll be technical and the ball.
Yeah, they'll
get rid of that real quick.
Yeah.
So good on Wes for using it while he can.
Yeah, that is true. So because it used to be technical, when anytime a technical happened, you got the ball. But now, they changed it.
Well, that's why Chris Webber's timeout was so detrimental, because North Carolina got the ball then too.
Exactly.
So.
All right. Enough of that. And if you guys have any thoughts out there in listener land, you can drop us a DM in Instagram at Cincy Sports Scene, or on Twitter at Cincy Sports Scene as well, about your thoughts of the Wes Miller timeout and the showdown as a whole, or shootout as a whole. All right, moving on to the Battle of Ohio. The Bengals defeating the Brownies. Finally, Burrow gets the monkey off his back, and
the elf.
We usher in the Deshaun Watson era, which is a losing one, and hopefully it'll remain a losing one. But once again, kudos to the defense. Kudos to, I think, the coaching staff. Zach Taylor, with when T. Higgins goes down, doesn't even start. Tyler Boyd dislocates a finger right away on the opening second play, I believe, and they're scrambling to, and it's good that they moved Jamar Chase around to every position, and target him 15 times, 10 catches, 100 and some yards. But Taylor steps up, Irwin steps up, Wilcox steps up, Joe Mixon, 96 yards rushing, Pirine rushing touchdown. So, the offense is moving. They're not as fluid without their, main three, but, they got it done. And it was an ugly game first half, but that's just a rivalry game, a divisional game. Yeah, it's the divisional game, etc. So it's just, what are your takes on the, the battle for Ohio there?
So I'm going to say it again. We've been saying it the past couple of weeks, but DJ Reader is just huge. I mean, coming back, they held Chubb to 40 yards, 45 yards, something like that.
30.
34.
Yeah, 6 yards. I saw in the second half.
I saw a stat that when DJ Reader's on the field, the Bengals allow, I think it was 3.4 yards per rush, which is second best in the NFL. When he's off the field, it's 4.7,
right?
Which was 25th or 26th or something like that. So just he doesn't even have to make the tackle. He clears the way for Logan Wilson to come in and clean it up. And Wilson had, I think, 15 tackles, 14 tackles, solo
14,
tackles.
yeah.
17,
solo.
14
solo, 17 total.
Solo. Okay. Yeah.
And 17 total, just coming in and cleaning it up. And I mean, that was awesome. I mean, it was another where the defense won us the ball game again. So they've been playing out of their mind this year, and DJ Reader has been just unbelievable.
Yeah, I would agree. I would say, beyond Reader, I think that's definite one. The other one would be just because how young he is, and I mean, I don't think we had any expectations is that Cam Taylor Britt that he's been able to just step in, and we don't even really think about the fact that he's a rookie anymore, that he's back there and starting, and he didn't even play. I mean, what was his first game? Fourth game in the fourth week or season, fourth or fifth week or something.
Fourth or fifth week.
I mean, basically no preseason.
Yeah. No, his first game was the Cleveland game.
That was his first start, I think he got spot snaps,
So just
the first,
I give the game ball to Reader. I just do the shout out for him, for Cam Taylor Britt, just because of we didn't have any expectations that he would be a number one starter and playing as well as he is, and not just some guy out there that's taking a spot because he has to. He's actually, having real contributions, and seems like they got what was he, third round, maybe?
He was
He was their second
round pick.
He was their
Dax
second.
Hill was 1.
Yeah.
Cam Britt Taylor was 2.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, still, I think he's played way, way beyond anything we would have considered, and that's even thinking down the road better, and when we get everybody back. So
yeah, I'll like to see him and
Awuzie when he comes back next year. That'll be
a nice pairing. You can say, Eli, see ya. But
no, Eli can just go back to being that depth guy.
That's true.
You got to plug him in.
He'll be a free agent though. I don't know if they'll offer him anything, but yeah. I thought
Dax Hill will be starting next year too. So
that's true.
He will be because Bates may be gone. But Mike Hilton comes in. What was it? He goes out and comes right back in because I guess he had a little knee injury or something like that, and then I guess it was just a stinger. He comes back in, doesn't miss a snap the rest of the game. The one thing I will take away from this is our injuries are starting to mount up, and the next man up, they're going to have to step up big because Hendrickson could be out 2 to 3 weeks with that broken wrist, which, I know he only has 6.5 sacks, something like that. But the pressure that he can generate, Osai needs to step up. He went out with a little shoulder tweak. He said it, pops out of socket here and there. So he has to tighten that harness a little more so it doesn't pop out. But he's going to have to step up in the absence. And then, just the rotation there. My boy, Aaron Donald II needs to come big, too. So to give those guys some breaks along that line, because Reeder and BJ Hill are doing a fantastic job. But Tyler Boyd, his dislocated finger was more than that. It was pretty much broken through the skin, and
he's going to be out for a while.
Yeah, he's going to be out for a while. Just depends on how long they can pad it up and if he can catch the ball or not. So, we're getting into some of the games where, we're hoping that we're getting players back, but looks like we're losing some key players as well. And, the rest of those backups need to come in and perform like our backups have been doing for us. So hopefully Zach's Culture Club can continue and those guys can step in and just keep moving. Anything else?
Yeah, and I think that second half should give guys like Irwin and Taylor a little more confidence, because once they kind of came in, it was clunky there until midway through the second quarter until they got going. So maybe they'll get more reps worked in throughout practice this week, get a little more comfortable. But that flea flicker was a nice play there.
A nice call.
At a shotgun, I can't remember the last time I've seen a flea flicker at a shotgun. But that was a good call. But yeah, we'll have to see. Higgins is a hamstring. Hopefully he can go next week. I don't know. It seems to kind of be a lingering issue here that he's dealing with. I guess the good news is out of the remaining 4 games, the next 2 are against the lesser 2 of the opponents. So if you are going to be missing guys, you'd rather be against these 2 teams. So I guess that's kind of a positive spin on it. You'd still like to have all your weapons available and out there. But, we'll see. Go down to Tampa Bay next week, so we'll see what that looks like.
Yeah, speaking of Tampa Bay, what are your preview here of the game, the Tampa Bay game? What predictions do you guys think is going to happen?
Well, the Bucs suck. They are terrible. So really, I'm expecting us to handle business relatively easily. If you want to put a score on it, I'll say 27-14 Bengals.
Yeah, I think the Bengals will win. I'm still a little worried when you have Tom Brady and your back's against the wall and you're, they're still somehow the division leader because that whole division is awful. But
yeah, his back's not against the wall. He's in first place.
Yeah, but his whole career is against the wall at this point. So,
that's true. His life.
So that concerns me. They still have talent in Tampa Bay. It's not like they've gone from Super Bowl to being the Texans or anything here. I don't think it'll be easy. I think the Bengals will win. I'd go like 27-24.
Yeah, I don't know if Tampa can score that many points. But then again, Tampa's defense isn't horrible. I watched the Tampa Bay game Sunday against the Niners, and Mike Evans and Brady, they're not seeing eye to eye. And I think Mike Evans is the type of player that just will say F you to Brady and not even try, because there's a couple of balls that were close to him that he didn't really go after, but then there were like 3 or 4 other balls that were nowhere near him, and Brady left him like 5 yards short. He was supposed to be in front of him. He threw it like 2 yards behind him. And, Brady's arm, I think Father Time is starting to knock and catching up to him. And, this is where I think we need to get that pass rush up the middle where we are in Brady's face, because he's not going to move around a whole lot. He's great at sliding in the pocket and doing all that kind of stuff, avoiding the rush, but he does not like it when you're right up the gut. And the other thing is, he threw a pass. I don't know if it was I think it was in the second half, where his hand came through and hit a helmet. And he stayed in. They didn't make any thing about it, but you could just see him wincing and shaking it out. And so you don't know what kind of lingering effects that might have as well. But I think the Bengals will win. A lot's going to depend on who is going to be playing, but I think we're going to probably rely on the run game a little more this week down in Tampa than in the past. So, I'll say 24-10.
Yeah, I'll say one last thing on it before. The thing that's different, the Niners and the Bengals defense, the Niners have a much better pass rush. And the Buccaneers' biggest thing right now is their offensive line is awful. They're bad. They're Bengal bad from last year.
Yeah.
And
yes.
so the Niners, that's a horrible matchup for the Buccaneers, because the 49ers D-line is probably the best D-line in the NFL.
Yeah, but Bosa didn't play
Bosa
yesterday. Yeah, he didn't play.
No. Well, it doesn't matter. and we're missing Hendrickson. I'm saying we're missing Hendrickson.
Right.
And he's our best
right.
pass rusher. So when we're not going to be able to duplicate that just from that. Now, Reeder and those guys in the middle should have a field day. Because
they should.
So,
yeah. And the Bucs can't run the ball to begin with.
Well,
so
offensive line again.
Definitely not going
right.
to be. Yeah.
All right. So hopefully we go down to Tampa, come back with a victory, and Baltimore loses, and we'll be in first place. I like that.
Come back, 10 wins, hit the over. That'd be nice for all you over bettors out there.
Stupid Steelers blew it again.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
the Ravens should be like 7-6 at this point. So
should be, but
they're not.
They're not.
But they have the easiest schedule in the NFL. So
right, that's what.
I guess that's the benefit.
That's why we needed these
not winning your division the previous year.
We needed the Steelers to beat them. These teams that have come close but haven't beat the Broncos the week before. These awful teams that should have still won.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. We're going to do a little bowl preview here. We've got our confidence picks. We're going to choose 5 bowl games that we think that we can say, hey, these 5 teams are going to win. There's couple of good games starting off. We got to give shout out to Miami versus I can't remember who they're playing, but in the Bahama Bowl, they kick off the bowl season Friday.
UAB.
Yeah, UAB.
They're playing UAB.
And then the next game of the day is Troy, number 24 versus number 25 USTA. That could possibly be the best bowl game of the year. Those two teams going at it, high scoring, fun type of game. And then the third game will be our beloved Bearcats going to the Wasabi Bowl up in Fenway and taking on the Cardinals of Louisville. So that's an old rivalry game, and it'll be one of those intriguing matchups because, the current coach of UC was the former coach of Louisville this past year. So we'll see how that all transpires, etc. But does anybody want to start with a confidence bowl pick to start this off? We'll go 5 of them. You just want to tell me your 5, who you got winning, or do you want me to go first?
You can go ahead and go first because I don't have 5 yet. I've got a couple.
Okay,
but
so
still,
Like, are we
thinking.
picking all? Like, we have to pick different ones.
No, if we have the same one, that's fine. So, so my 5 are this. I've got Florida State over Oklahoma in the Cheez-It Bowl. I hate to do this, but I have LSU over Purdue in the Citrus Bowl just because I think Braum leaving puts a little damper in that. Then I have Coastal Carolina over Eastern Carolina in the Birmingham Bowl. I've got Notre Dame over South Carolina in the Gator Bowl. And then I've got UGA over OSU.
Okay. That's your...
I'll go ahead and do mine, unless you want to go, Crawley.
If you're ready.
All right. I've got Baylor over Air Force in the Armed Forces Bowl. And then I've got Arkansas over Kansas in the Liberty Bowl. That's 2. UCLA over Pitt in the Sun Bowl. And then I also have LSU over Purdue in the Citrus Bowl. And then in the other playoff game, I have Michigan over TCU.
Okay, my turn, I guess.
You're up.
Okay, I'm going to go USC over Tulane in the Cotton Bowl. Except, what's his name? I'm counting on the Heisman Trophy winner playing in that game, so I could change things if he doesn't. LSU over Purdue. Come on. Even if Braum hadn't left, even if he hadn't left, come on.
Yeah, I don't know.
Beat
Tennessee last year.
They beat Tennessee last year.
What's Purdue in the SEC this year?
Well, it depends which SEC, East or West, because the West was horrible. 8-3 won the West. So,
yeah. Wait a minute, in the SEC or in the Big Ten?
In the SEC West.
Alabama is in the West. They're not. They weren't 8-3.
Yeah, but
they only lost one conference game.
Oh, yeah.
They went 7-1 in conference.
So LSU, but LSU lost.
They only lost one, but they beat Bama,
okay.
So they got the bid.
Yeah, Purdue's at best 500 in the SEC. I don't care West or East.
Yeah. That'd be fair.
UCLA. Yeah, UCLA over Pitt. I agree with Sam. I think you said that one too. The Sun Bowl. I think Alabama over Kansas State. I think Talon's going to win out there. Sugar Bowl.
But is Bryce Young playing?
As of now, he is, right?
He probably won't. As of now, he is, but
I don't know. But you got Bill O'Brien calling the plays, unless he gets fired.
I'll stick with it. Even if he doesn't play. I'm sure they got a good 5-star backup. So,
Milroe did not look good. He did not look good.
No.
He won't be the starter next year. I'll tell you that much.
I think Ty Simpson is the guy who's going to be.
And then I don't care about your guys' Alabama analysis here. And then I'll go Oregon State over Florida in the Vegas Bowl.
Yeah, that's a good one. I almost went there, but I forgot Anthony Richardson is not playing in that. So yeah, a lot of people have made their transfer to the portals or saying that they're opting out, and coaches are moving. So that's what you have to really look on for the confidence fit. So we'll come back and do this and see where we're at. So keep this handy, gentlemen. All right. So now we've got the trivia and drink review here. So if you want to participate, you can email us at csspodcast@yahoo.com or DM on Instagram or Twitter at Cincy Sports Scene if you think you know the answer. So last week, Crawley, you had the question. So what'd you have for us?
Question was, which 3 MLB franchises have played more regular season games than the Reds? The Reds have 21,489 games in the regular season. There are 3 MLB franchises who have played more.
And we didn't come up with it. Did you come up with any, Sam?
You guys were guessing.
I said the Tigers.
Yeah, Tigers.
Tigers were my main guess.
Say the Braves or the Red Sox.
And the Dodgers, I think we threw out there. Red Sox, Yankees. But yeah, I don't know that we ever got one.
All right. What are they, Crawley?
So in order, the number 1 is the Cubs. They've played about almost 400 something more games than the Reds. Second is the Braves, and the third is the Cardinals, who have played 3 more regular season games than the Reds in history. So it's all
Cardinals.
Yeah. So that's it. Cubs, Braves,
That list
Cardinals.
probably won't be changing anytime soon. So.
Nope. Unless you have like a rain out and they don't make them up.
Right.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
So I gotta hope for that. All right. So Sam, you got this week's trivia.
Yeah, so we've got a little World Cup trivia. We haven't talked.
Oh, there we go.
Cup,
I'm gonna see what your dad comes up with on this one.
There's a reason.
We're gonna do some World Cup trivia here. This one is probably relatively easy on what I could have gone with, but there have been 22 official FIFA World Cups so far. Only one country has qualified and played in all 22. What is that country?
It's one of 2.
So only one country has qualified for all of them. That's the question.
Qualified and played in all 22.
Ooh, we got some disclaimers. So something must have happened somewhere.
So either.
I mean, my first guess is Brazil. Don't say if that's right or not, but that's my first thought.
I was going to say Brazil or Argentina, or I don't know if England or Germany.
Not England. I know that.
Germany probably not either because they probably got banned because of World War II or something like that. Maybe France.
I feel like Argentina didn't make it because they had like some war thing too, or they something happened and they weren't in one. But I could be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
France is a good one. I think that's a good guess.
All right. Well,
yeah, I would say I'd say Brazil and France. You said there's just one, right? One answer.
There's just one.
Just one. Okay. Yep. Just one.
Yeah, I would say Brazil or France, but I'd go with Brazil.
Yeah, that's probably what I would go with as well. All right. So if you think you know the answer to the World Cup trivia questions, just be the first listener to correctly email us at csspodcast@yahoo.com or shoot us a message in the comments sections on Twitter or Instagram at Cincy Sports Scene. And next week we'll be back with the answer. So, all right. So now we're moving on to the topic of the week, and with it being rivalry week last Saturday with the crosstown shootout, we thought, well, what better way to bring it full circle than come up with a list of the best rivalries in sports. So collectively, we're going to create the Cincy Sports Scene Top 5, and you can chime in and agree or disagree or tell us ones that we've forgotten, those type of things. But each one of us is going to give our top 5 to 8, and then collectively from those lists, we will come up with our top 5 and try to rank them in order. Criteria is, rivalry before you got on, Sam, Crawley, and I were discussing how we decided, and it was pretty much one of those like a current rivalry. And by that, I mean they're still playing. It's not a past rivalry where,
Gotcha.
like, Charlie brought up Jimmy Connors and John McEnroe, right? Big time rivalry. But they're not playing anymore, so it sort of loses its luster. And I had that on my list. I also had Ali Frazier. So those are rivalries in the sense. Yes, they are great rivalries, but I wouldn't consider them the best in sports today. So that's what we went with. Another thing that I looked at is, is it regional? Is it national? Does the national media play it up too much versus regional stuff? Because sometimes there's some regional things that are just really, really heated, and a lot of people don't know about it, and so they don't give it a second thought. They're like, oh, and they go to these bigger games. So I try to look at the whole scope, and if it's in the college realm, does it go from sport to sport, or is it just a specific sport that gets the most notoriety? So, I was looking at, how that affects the universities, et cetera, when I came up with my list. So who wants to go first?
Everybody jump up at once.
I'll let you.
All right, I'll go.
I'll let you go
All right.
first. You're hosting.
Okay.
Go ahead and go.
So I came up like my top 8. I'll just read one out, say one, and then you guys can just, do we want to? Well, let me ask you this: do we want to read our top 8? Like I go all 8, and then Crawley, then Sam, and then we come up with our top 5 from that, or do we want to take turns and go one at a time?
We can take turns. I mean, it doesn't really matter to me. I kind of broke mine out a little different than a top 8 overall. I kind of did it by sport.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, either way is fine. It doesn't really matter.
Or why don't we do it by sport? So, Dave, when you say yours and whatever sport that is, I'll say my second one or whatever. If I have, what I'm saying. So if you start with college football rivalry, and then I'll say a college, and the other two of us will say a college football one too.
Okay. All right.
Okay, yeah, I like that.
Let's do that then. We'll go with college football and Michigan, Ohio State.
What are you talking about? Nobody knows that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the cream of the crop. That's the top one right there.
Yep.
I will say I'll put Army Navy on there. I don't, just from the standpoint of like importance. College football importance, Ohio State, Michigan, but Army Navy has a kind of its own importance that maybe I think transcends Ohio State, Michigan.
Yeah.
I think those are 1 and 2, or 1A and 1B.
Plays by itself. So. The only game on, and when your coach gets fired for not winning
against Army,
Army
in the locker room.
That
dude, he had to be pissed.
I'm sure. Yeah, because I was reading some of the stuff on it, and it's wild. Because I guess apparently the Navy, period, the United States Navy doesn't allow the cadets to take red shirts, or they didn't grant them the COVID year, whereas Army was able to get that.
Army and Air Force.
So they were, So that was. That's a great rivalry game, but it's a brutal watch. Oh my gosh!
I don't know. I kind of enjoyed it. Going back to the old running the ball. Yes, I mean their quarterbacks were horrible.
They don't throw it ever.
I don't.
No, they don't.
It's the good thing about it is it's like a fast game. I mean, it may be horrible to watch, but they're done in 2 hours 45 minutes. That was when I went to at the UC Navy game this year. We were done. It was over in less than 3 hours, and that never happens in a college football game anymore. So
no.
Yeah. So did you have Sam? Did you have a third one, like another one to throw out there?
Yeah. the Iron Bowl, Bama Auburn
Yep.
is definitely up there.
Yep.
Did you have another one? I mean, we can say if you have another one. Do you have another one?
Yeah. So I mean,
I've got another one.
Oh, yeah. Do we just want to keep going?
We'll just keep going
have any more
for football.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I got a couple more.
I've got. We'll go on the same line as Army Navy. Tough game to watch, but we'll go Harvard Yale.
I have that on. That was one of mine.
Yeah,
just from its history too. I mean, history. So.
Yep.
And then my other one, I think I only have one more after that. I have Notre Dame, USC. I think just from I
put that on
like from the standpoint of a national. I mean, you got the Midwest power and you got the West Coast, and they each try to recruit each over each other, and there's just that kind of twist. It's at a conference,
Yeah,
that was my other one.
Yeah, one you gave the qualifier that they currently play.
Yep.
I know they played this year, but the backyard brawl.
I have that.
Pitt, West Virginia is always, but I had OU, Texas, and then I had any rivalry game that's called the Silver War.
Oh,
that makes the list.
Well,
there's like 3 or 4 of them.
I have the one that is crazy, right? And the name itself is crazy. Bedlam. Oklahoma State is that's something. Another one I had like Florida State versus Florida versus the U. I mean, anytime any of those schools play each other, it's for the bragging right of the state, right? I mean, it's territory.
I just think those 3 teams have all stepped back. So I don't.
Yeah, they have.
I'm saying in today's world, I don't think those are nothing compared to those other ones.
Nationally, nationally they don't resonate. But I bet in Florida they still.
Yeah, they do in Florida, but I think we're talking. Yeah. We're trying to talk big national kind of thing. So Michigan, Ohio State still does that nationally.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I had a couple NFL games. Bears, Packers, and Cowboys. Not Redskins, the Commandos or Commanders or whatever they're called now. So we're
going NFL now.
Well, I just was football.
No, I'm just asking. You just moved on to NFL.
So. Well, but that was football. I mean, I had them listed as football. So if you got any,
so what did you say? Bears, Packers.
Well, I said Bears, Packers, and the boys in the like Washington.
Yeah, I was thinking. Team. I mean, the NFC East is the best in terms of rivalries. I think, like traditional, especially traditional rivalries. Because I was thinking Cowboys, Eagles, even as my first one. But you can almost do any. You can almost do any combination of those 4 teams and get around. I mean, they really do hate each other.
Yes.
And then I was I guess living in the moment. Bengals, Chiefs. So, just from the last couple of years, the importance of that. I mean, and thinking forward too. I mean, as long as Burrow and Mahomes stay healthy, I mean, that's going to be a big one moving forward, kind of thing. So, because I was trying to think of the Bengals, like who really is their number one rival? Because if you ask a Steelers fan, they still say the Browns are their, they hate the Browns the most.
Yeah,
and the Browns hate the Steelers the most.
Yeah, but I would say the Bengals hate the Steelers the most.
But the Ravens, But the Ravens, I mean, they're really our biggest rival. I mean, they're the best team of that group, so it really should be the Ravens.
I went outside the Steelers and said, just because of those 2 playoff games.
Yeah. I mean, it goes back way before those 2 playoff games, right?
Right,
I mean,
right.
It does. But injury, I mean, that's
Kenny Anderson getting his neck ripped off in '75. Right. So I mean, it's
the way they blew up Kevin Huber.
Yeah.
I mean,
that
was a little more recent, but
right.
Yeah. But it's a one-sided hatred, I think. So.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think the Chiefs Bengals moving forward, as long as those quarterbacks stay healthy, might be the winner.
You got any pro?
I don't have any to add from pro football now. Pro sports in the U.S., they're kind of hard to get rivalries. Yeah. It's a little more difficult.
Yeah. I mean, the only other baseball. I had 3 down as rivalries games.
I had 4.
Okay, I had Yankees, Red Sox, obviously. I had the Dodgers, Giants, and then I had the Cubs Cardinals.
Yeah. I put Yankees Mets in there as well. Just because, I mean, they have played in a couple World Series, and it is more of a regional rivalry. It doesn't resonate on the
Yeah, I mean, I
national
thought
level like
about
Yankees
that,
Red
but
Sox. But
that's only, you don't get the rivalry as much. Well, now you might get it more.
now you do. You get it. They play every year now.
Because of the interleague. But before it, I wouldn't have considered it a rivalry, just because it was happen chance that they might get into the World Series and play each other. But Crawley, do you had any other baseball ones?
Nope. You hit all the ones
All
I
right.
would have said. So I will go with.
Okay, let's move.
I figured I would go with
Go
the
ahead.
next area. So
Yep. Go right ahead.
Let's go. I guess college basketball, and I have. Duke, North Carolina. I have Kentucky, U of L, Louisville. It's hard for me not to put UC Xavier on there just because that's my favorite rivalry. But nationally right now, it's definitely not up there like it was in the Huggins peak years and whatever. I mean, say the last 15 years, it's definitely not.
No, but
it's on ESPN too.
Yeah.
I mean, it used to be prime time ESPN 7:00, just like you would see Duke, North Carolina, and they didn't. I mean, who do they send Jordan Cornette to be the announcer for the game? That tells you something right now. So I love it, but nationally, I mean, that's just if we were doing this in Oklahoma right now, we wouldn't be saying UC Xavier. We would have 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, but this is a Cincinnati podcast, so you got to have them
on
there.
But I'm just saying, I'm just speaking the truth, just speaking facts.
But when Wes Miller, who played at North Carolina and played in those North Carolina Duke games, and when he said that the atmosphere and the intensity doesn't compare to this rivalry because you're in the same city, 3 miles apart, right? Duke, North Carolina, 8 miles apart. So it's different cities, different atmospheres. This is, you see the guys on the street, you see the guys in the gyms, etc. He goes, it's just totally different. This is more intense than any of the North Carolina Duke games that he's played in. So, coming from a guy who's played in that, I think it's up there.
Yeah, I had it on my list, as a regional thing too. But yeah, I think Crawley's right. It has lost a little bit of national relevance. And that's because both teams haven't been the past couple of years competing for the NCAA tournament. I think if they were both still doing that, making regular appearances, it would still hold its weight. Hopefully it'll get back to that point.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but when did they move it from February to December?
That was before the fight.
It bounced around for a while. It kind of went back and forth. Though I don't think it's been a move and it's stayed there. It's bounced back and forth.
Okay.
So that was what I had college basketball. I didn't try to get a million of them. I just did those. Mm-hmm. So Duke, UNC, Kentucky, Louisville, and Xavier's Cincinnati.
Yeah, I mean Purdue, IU.
Yeah, I had that on, obviously.
Indiana, UCLA, Arizona is a really good one to watch. I want to put IU in Kentucky, but they don't play enough anymore to really have a big rivalry. But when they play, those games are electric to watch and really fun to watch.
Another one it's regional, but it's starting to get a little more national attention is Gonzaga, and is it St. Mary's?
St. Mary's,
yeah. That one there for a while, is a big one. The only other one that I had UC, Xavier, Purdue, IU, Duke, UNC, and then I had Kentucky and Tennessee. That's a heated rivalry, especially in basketball, because when Tennessee builds their indoor stadium, their basketball arena, and puts one more seat than Rupp Arena, so that they can claim that they have a larger stadium than Kentucky. It's a heated rivalry. They don't like each other there at all.
Yeah, that's a good one. I completely forgot about that one.
And then NBA basketball, the only one I could think of is the Lakers Celtics, and that's
all there is.
That's pretty much lost its luster to me. I don't follow the NBA anymore that closely, and when Bird Magic, that was the rivalry for me growing up, right?
Yeah, and they're just. I mean, the big part of it is the NBA is such. Like there's a rotating cast of teams. Like there's not that dominant team that lasts for a decade. Like, or even Lakers Celtics lasted for 40 years, 30 years, whatever it was. So that wasn't just out of the 80s. So the Warriors really. Warriors Cavs for 5 years or 4 years. I would have put on that list, but not anymore, obviously. So there's just kind of a rotating cast of characters when it comes to the NBA.
Too many free agents.
Like the Warriors,
the rivalries
don't really have a number
the
one
rivalries
rivalry.
Aren't. Yeah, the rivalries aren't really between teams; they're more between players.
Yeah.
They kind of that's what the NBA is. It's all about the
player,
the individual, the star. It's the player,
not the team.
It's not really the teams anymore. I've never lived really in a city until now that had a pro basketball team, so I never had a favorite. I just always had favorite players. So wherever they went, that's kind of the team that I watched. So
yeah, you could have.
That's kind of what the NBA is.
You could have said, the Bad Boys, Pistons, and the Bulls, right? Those were. Yeah, those were big time heated rivalries. Pistons,
20
Pacers,
years ago, 25 years ago,
for 2 years. Yeah.
Pistons, Pacers. The brawl, Malice in the Palace.
Really, it's just Ron Artest and beer cups, but yeah.
And then there's. Who was it? The New York Knicks and the Jordan,
and the Pacers with the Knicks for a little bit, Knicks and Heat for a little bit.
So.
Yeah, they tend to be short lived. Yeah, they're 3, 4, 5 year stretch.
Yeah, rivalries. I think the reason why the Lakers, the Lakers Celtics, it's that East Coast West Coast, and they've both been pretty dominant for decades. Throughout the decades. So that's been, it's, the longevity counts in rivalries. Okay, let's see here. I had like an other category.
I had several on that.
So, obviously, in hockey, I would, this is a shout out to Phil Farr. Hope you're listening, bud. The Boston Bruins versus the Montreal Canadiens. That's supposed to be, I guess that's, he'll let me know if that's the main rival, but I think it is. And then I also had Ollie Frazier, Barcelona, and Real Madrid, and Connors McEnroe, and then I had Chris Evert and Martina, and Navratilova was another tennis one that I had as well. So those were my others.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of my others were soccer, international and club. So I had no hockey. I didn't have hockey either. I've got nothing there. So yeah, soccer, you hit the big one, Barcelona, Real Madrid, El Clasico. That might be the biggest rivalry in all team sports. Just because they're the two most successful teams. Between them, they have like 80 championships, 80 league titles in Spain. And then, it's political over there too. The clubs are so tied into politics over there. It's a legitimate hatred. So I think that might be the top rivalry that there is. A couple other club soccer ones: Manchester United versus Liverpool. You have Boca Juniors versus River Plate down in Argentina. Same thing as Barcelona, Real Madrid. And then you also have who's the other one? Fenerbahce versus Galatasaray in Turkey. That one's, all the same reasons. It's because they get political. They're huge. Yeah, and then there is Lazio versus Roma in Italy. That was the what do they call it? They call that like the Derby of the Capital or something. And that was the first recorded fan death caused by another team's fans. So I think, I mean, again, it gets political. So those are huge in terms of club soccer.
Well, I have a soccer on my other U.S. Mexico.
Yeah, on the international level, yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
For us around here, I mean, if it's U.S. Mexico, everybody's watching. So, from a soccer standpoint, so that was actually my. I mean, beside Barcelona, Real Madrid, I put my other one was U.S. Mexico. For more around here, and then I even have a golf one in mine.
I was thinking of a couple of them. Yeah,
and I didn't even go with individuals on this. I went. I mean, current. I mean, again, I'm only sticking to current rivalries. I'm not talking about people from not. Tiger Woods is out. I mean, these people, Jimmy God. I mean, these guys are long gone. So my current one is the Live Tour versus the PGA Tour.
PGA Tour, yeah.
I mean, that is the rivalry right now. I mean, those people hate each other. I mean, they're in the news like cussing each other out. And Greg Norman, everybody hates Greg Norman. They want him to basically die. So, I mean, now you don't have that one. Live versus PGA on that. That was my big one.
That's a good one.
The wild card there. All the money that's involved in that. So I went with that. That was a wild card. And then I put a tennis one just because I put the three-headed monster, Nadal, Federer, and Djokovic, and those guys are old and Federer's retiring, but they're still like when Nadal and Djokovic enter a tournament, they're still favored to win. So a lot of times. So I don't know. That was my other. I think that was my only other wild card. So
like it. All right. So I guess now we got to come up with our top 5 that we all can agree on, right? So, and I think rivalry, what it means, I think OSU Michigan should be on the list somewhere.
I would agree.
Yeah, it's definitely on the list. Yeah, it's the biggest rivalry and the biggest sport. So,
and I would still, even though it's the same sport, I'd put Army Navy on there.
Yeah,
what other game? I had Army. And my argument would be, what other game, in what other sport or what other game do people care about a 4-7 team playing a 5-6 team?
The only other one would be the Iron Bowl, Bama and Auburn.
Yeah, but when was the last time they were 4-7 versus 5-6?
Yeah.
If those two teams went 4-7 and 5-6 for 2 or 3 years in a row, people wouldn't care anymore.
The people in Alabama.
People in Alabama, but I'm saying national. Yeah. I'm talking national.
Yeah,
I'm sticking to national.
Right. Yeah. I know, but when.
So I'm saying Army, Navy, people still care about it, and they're not very good.
Yeah.
So that's why I would argue that should be a top 5.
Okay. Well, I'm all right with it on the list because I had it on my list originally. So like my condensed list. So.
Yeah, I'm fine with putting it on there. I didn't have it in my top 5, but it made my list. Okay. So, I mean, Duke, North Carolina, I think has to be on there. I mean, because like I said, I don't like the pro rivalries that we have.
I don't.
Here.
Yeah, I don't like the. I don't
like them.
I mean, the pro rivalries in basketball, no, but.
I think for national pub, I agree. I mean, Duke, North Carolina gets the most national pub of any game, any college basketball game.
But yeah. I mean, I agree with y'all. I don't think it's better than. I mean, and I don't want to say I'm biased, but I think Purdue IU is way better for a rivalry.
If you went to North Carolina or Duke, you would not say that.
I probably would.
No, probably about it. There is no way you would say that if you were a graduate of Duke or North Carolina.
Well,
you would be saying the exact opposite.
But then you got to throw out Wes Miller's comment of he played in it, damn it, and he thinks UC Xavier's better.
Well, he thought the atmosphere in that one game was better. He didn't say the rivalry is better. He just said that one game was the loudest atmosphere I've ever been involved in, and it was louder. And stuff.
He said it's more intense than that. See, I think the media blows the UNC North Carolina game way out of proportion. I just think, because everybody, it's ratings, right? And I just think it.
Well, it's a UNC Duke rivalry, and then it's a Duke versus everybody else watching rivalry, right? Because that's really what it is.
And here's the other thing that I think, we'll see how much of a rivalry. It's always going to stay a rivalry. I mean, I'm not saying it's not one of the best rivalries out there, but Krzyzewski's gone, right? So how's that going to affect moving forward? Because Krzyzewski versus Dean Smith for the Wild and Roy Williams, Krzyzewski, it was about beating that image, and now Krzyzewski's gone, and how much is that going to impact this rivalry? Don't know, but I'll put it on. I'm okay with.
Well, let me ask you this. So part of the rivalry, it's Duke, North Carolina. It's interstate. Or intrastate, I guess. They're right there, real close to each other. I like the rivalry in part because of there's no neutral when you watch that game because of how hated Duke is. I think that should play a part in this as well. Because, you watch Purdue IU. If you're not from Indiana, you're a neutral watching that game. You're watching a good basketball game. But nationally, I don't think that there's a neutral that watches UNC versus Duke. I don't think that there's a true neutral. You either root for Duke or you root against Duke. I don't think there's anybody that's just watching that game to watch a good basketball game.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that should play into the rivalry factor or not.
No, I think it does.
Yeah.
I think you bring up a good point there.
Yeah, because I think if you're I was going to say, I think if you're from Kentucky, you pick Kentucky against U of L over Purdue and Indiana. Kentucky and U of L hate each other. They absolutely hate each other. You got this little island of Louisville in the middle of Kentucky, and they want nothing, and they don't even want to be a part of Kentucky. They hate them so bad. So if we had a person from Kentucky on and sitting in here, they would pick UK and U of L with the same argument that Indiana Purdue is. I think they're both great rivalries. I just think they're more regional, and maybe and I think a lot of it is. I think it is overhyped, the North Carolina Duke one, but that's just the way it is, and it's become the rivalry because of that, because of how good they've been over these years. But, ESPN latched onto it. Dick Vitale latched onto it, and it is what it is. So,
yep. All right. I'll put it on. I'm not. All right. So we've got three. You want to go Yankees, Red Sox? That's another national, right?
Hyped one,
and it's hyped.
It's overhyped.
That's the way I feel.
But
North Carolina is overhyped.
Yeah. No, you're right.
I used to
at least
turn on and watch the games, right, all the time. Sunday night game, let's watch Yankees, Red Sox. Right? Now who cares?
I don't watch baseball anymore unless the Reds are playing.
Yeah.
I'm not tuning in. You don't watch baseball then.
But right, yeah. Well, that's true because we can't get Bally Sports. I didn't watch. I watched like 2 games last year that I could find on ESPN Plus.
Right.
So
yeah, I would agree.
But I wasn't missing much.
I don't watch baseball either, and I love baseball other than the Reds. I follow it. I know exactly what's happening, and I pay attention to it. I just don't sit down and watch baseball games. So,
the Yankees Red Sox is, it has the lore, it has the history, blah 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 blah. Ruth to the Yankees, but the Dodgers Giants.
That's a big one with Brooklyn. Especially with Brooklyn and New York involved. So
yeah,
and that's a fan rivalry too.
So is Boston and Yankees, but
it is that. But that's like a city rivalry almost. Whereas like there's Dodgers fans everywhere that if there's a Dodger fan in Cincinnati, they will try and beat up a Giants fan that they see in Cincinnati. That's not happening with the Yankees Red Sox. That's not going to happen. I'd almost argue that Dodgers Giants is a bigger rivalry.
I don't think
Sox.
nationally it is. I don't think nationally.
Yeah, I guess on a national scale. I guess.
Part of
that's because of the
part of the Dodgers.
media
Part
hype.
of the Dodgers Giants issue is that California, again, gets back to almost Kentucky. Northern California and Southern California hate each other. They don't want to. They think there should be two separate states, and so San Francisco represents the North and LA represents the South. So you got almost got a regional conflict here with that one.
Well, and the other thing, when we talk about the media bias in this is, Dodgers Giants 10 p.m. game, right, on ESPN because that's 7 p.m. out there. So
they're not playing 4 o'clock games during the week,
right? And so we don't get to see that that much. So it's, I don't know. I mean,
I think you're right. Just the national sports fan, if you say name the top MLB rivalry, the answer is going to be Yankees Red Sox. I think that's the answer. I despise the Yankees so much, in part because of the freaking Aaron Judge cut-ins. I don't care about the Yankee home run record. Why are you cutting into my college football to show me Aaron Judge tying the Yankee home run record?
Well, it's the American League home run record.
I don't care about the American League either. I don't care about the separate leagues. What's the actual record?
Well,
it's 73.
It could say some people could say it's 62 now, but because of the steroids.
Not even 62. Get out of here with that.
Well, I'm just saying, something.
He hit 73 home runs. I don't care how he did it.
Well.
And Aaron Judge was getting juice baseballs. That came out. That was a legitimate report that just came out. The MLB was sending to Yankees games juice baseballs to be used during Aaron Judge's at-bats. So don't give me this, how did he get those 73 home runs?
Well, he didn't juice the baseballs. He juiced himself. So,
Right. I'd argue that's better than the whole league getting behind it just so he can hit freaking 62.
They wanted him to stay. It's a conspiracy theory. They wanted him to stay in New York and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. So, because if the Yankees aren't relevant, then ESPN can't be relevant, and then, the money can't go into the TV contracts and all that stuff. So they got to have the Yankees. That's why I was reluctant to put it on there, but I don't know. All right, we've got one more that we need to come up with, and then we got to rank them. So
it's a soccer one. It's either USA Mexico or Barcelona Real Madrid. I think we have to choose from one of those two.
I'll see if your dad. I don't know if your dad agrees with that, so that's what I'm waiting for.
Well, no, I was just I mean. You sure don't want to go Bruins Canadians?
We don't even know if that's the best rivalry in hockey, let alone on our poll or our list.
Phil Farr, calling Phil Farr.
Exactly.
Phil Farr, please call in and let us know.
I don't know. You golfers don't like my Live PGA right now?
It's a hot one right now, but it's a 6 months one that'll be resolved in the next year.
Greg Norman's still around.
Well,
eventually.
See, I thought maybe
people are going to get tired of taking the Saudi money.
I thought maybe you were going to say, Tiger Phil, but that's like
Tiger Phil. That was 10 years ago.
Well, I was, but it was a rivalry. They're still
10 years ago. One's a cripple. One's a cripple, and one no one even cares about anymore because he's on the Live Tour.
On the Live Tour, right?
No one even knows what he's doing anymore.
He's banking.
No,
he's banking those checks.
Live PGA. Hey, I'm all happy about the soccer one. I'll totally go with the soccer one. I would go USA Mexico. I'm going to be biased in that because it's USA Mexico and I'm here, so I pay attention to that way more than I do Barcelona and Real Madrid. I mean, I couldn't tell you who won the last one of those, and I follow soccer closely. So for me, it'd be US Mexico.
Yeah, I'd lean USA Mexico as well.
I would have went the other way, but what do I know? So,
well, so
I mean, because if you're saying internationally, that's that's.
I'll tell you this much: as far as countries on the end, when you're talking international soccer, USA Mexico is number one. because they play each other to qualify for the World Cup. The teams in Europe, you can't even count their rivalries because of how they do World Cup qualification. They don't, like, England doesn't play France all the.
Well, they're broken into a lot of different groups.
Was like,
yeah,
they have
exactly
4,
right. They're
5 or
split
6
up.
group winners can make it.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas Mexico, United States, like that's like you have to play them, you have to beat them to qualify for the World Cup.
Yeah, and the other thing about U.S. Mexico that separates it from these other ones, I agree, is that it's U.S. Mexico all the time to win every tournament in this area. You know, in Europe, you got, 6 or 7 teams that could win a tournament. I mean, Portugal wins, France wins, Spain wins, England wins, on and on and on. So that's what the other one would be Argentina, Brazil, just because they're kind of like U.S. Mexico. I mean, typically it's one of those 2 teams coming out, but I don't know that one that well. So, I mean, I don't, I'm not as close to that one as I am U.S. Mexico. So,
all right. So U.S. Mexico. So we're going to scrap Lakers Celtics then. U.S. Mexico is better than Lakers Celtics.
I think in today's world, I would say yes.
Okay. Well, let's put that down. Bears Packers. No.
The Packers win every one of those games.
When's the last time? Yeah.
But still a big rivalry. They hate each other. So.
Yeah, I almost would say Packers Vikings. I would say Packers Vikings almost over Packers Bears right now.
It could be Packers Lions now, but you never know. Since Detroit is back.
Yeah, if I was going if I was going to NFL, I would say Cowboys and one of those other NFC East teams would be first. So
yeah. All righty. So R5, we've got Ohio State, Michigan, Army, Navy, UNC, Duke, Yankees, Red Sox, and USA, Mexico. Rank them in order. Number 1.
Oh, goodness.
OSU, Michigan.
Think OSU, Michigan?
Yeah, I think that's number 1.
You're going to say... Yeah, I would think it's number 1 just because they only play once, right? Whereas Duke, UNC plays twice a year usually, and sometimes 3 times a year.
Sometimes 4.
Yeah, if they're, yeah. But I'm okay with.
Well, and I think the tiebreaker on that is OSU Michigan still extends in the basketball a little bit. It's still a decent rivalry basketball wise, whereas UNC Duke in football, I guess they would consider it a rivalry, but
yeah,
when rivalry comes
I think
on, that's not getting shown.
UNC NC State is a bigger rivalry in football.
Right, exactly.
I think
they have a bigger rival.
Right.
And I don't know, maybe Michigan and Michigan State's a bigger basketball rivalry, but I don't know. I still think
you're right on that, Sam.
Fans of the But I still think that I don't know who Ohio State's basketball rival would be if it's not Michigan.
Well, to Ohio State people, it would be Michigan. But the Michigan people, I think they care more about Michigan State than they do Ohio State.
Right. Yep. In basketball. Yeah. See, and that's where, we have the old Oaken Bucket, and then we got Purdue IU in basketball and the old Oaken Bucket in football. So we got you there, Ohio State and Michigan. So maybe we should move IU.
Yeah, Purdue. But then the quality of the football teams has to come into play here.
That is true. That is true. But the quality on the field is pretty equal. Right? Yeah. So...
you're not wrong there, but it's not because they're both A's. It's because they're both C minuses.
Well, but hey, but you had the Gene Katie bomb night. Yeah. The chair throwing it. Oh man. Yeah. Get me going. But, all right. So OSU, Michigan, number 1. Where are we going? Number 2.
Number 2, I go UNC Duke. That's what I would do.
Over Army, Navy.
Yeah.
Yankees, Red Sox.
Yeah, Yankees Red Sox is 5 for me. That's at the bottom.
I don't know.
But give your opinions on it too. But to me, that's I wouldn't have even put it in the top 5. But consensus, I agree that is a top 5 rivalry. So I'll agree with you guys. But it's 5, as far as I'm concerned. And I think part of that's because baseball is just not important.
Yeah.
It's just not. because I mean,
I would agree with Sam. I'd put it
all
5
three of
too.
us just said we don't watch baseball.
Yeah,
we don't watch it. Yankees Red Sox is on. I'm not watching it.
I'd put it 5.
I don't care. So
I would probably
so
I would probably put Army Navy second, but I'm okay with Duke North Carolina. I think from a prominent game, importance game, Duke North Carolina is always there. I just still go back to what I said about Army Navy. There is no other rivalry in the country that if teams were 4-7, that people would care about it, except for that one, including Duke North Carolina. If both teams came in at 8-15 several years in a row, it would drop like a rock. So that's why. But I'm good with Duke North Carolina.
I like Army Navy at 2, just because of the history, what it means to college football. Because Army Navy was the game before the game, right? Back in the 40s and 50s. That's Army Navy. That was it.
Well, they were Heisman winners.
Yeah.
And
it was they were the powerhouses. And then, and you've got a football game that is standalone on Saturday. No other football games are shown. The pageantry, the tradition.
Anybody you hear on the radio or you hit on TV that says they've been to that game, they say that's their favorite game they've ever been to.
Right.
Even on their these aren't Army Navy people. These are Dan Orlovsky kind of people who have nothing to do with Army Navy, but they go to the game and say that's their favorite game ever.
Yeah.
Well, do we knock it because game day doesn't seem to want to go to that game anymore?
Well,
again, but that could be media bias again.
Well, because CBS owns the rights to it. Maybe they say.
But they've the past 10 years, they've gone out there and done a game day. And they didn't do it.
Yeah, but I don't think you did a game day anywhere, did they? This past Saturday?
No. But why wouldn't you do a game? They've done it before, so why didn't they do it this year? I guess, I don't know. Just something to consider. I'm not going to argue against them at 2. I just put them at 3 and UNC Duke at 2.
But then are we saying ESPN controls? If that's the case, Yankees Red Sox need to be up there, right? Because they're always broadcasting the Yankees Red Sox.
Well, yeah, and that's why I said, now we're getting into the media bias stuff.
Yeah, so that's why,
So I guess, if you want to take that out of the equation, and just try and remove to the best of our abilities media bias, then I would say Army Navy's probably 2.
All right, Army Navy 2. And I guess
so. Then UNC Duke 3. USA Mexico 4. In my mind, anyways. You two can argue that out, but
well, I would have US Mexico 3rd because I care, and that's just me. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying nationally. It probably doesn't go there, but I care about USA Mexico way more than I care about Duke North Carolina. But I'm a soccer guy, so nationally.
I'm a soccer guy too.
Nationally, that's not true.
So. If you just pull a random Joe off
correct.
The street,
I totally agree.
They'll UNC Duke.
Well, and in reality, if we're basing on random Joe, then Yankees Red Sox would go over USA Mexico. The random Joe wouldn't have USA Mexico on this list. But
probably not.
This isn't the random Joe thing. This is our podcast. So
right, exactly. That's why I ceded to you guys on that one. But because I didn't have that on my list, but I did have a soccer one on there. So
as much as I like soccer, I'm still a basketball guy. I'm still gonna gravitate a little bit more to college basketball, anyways. So to me, that's why I have Duke. UNC
and maybe
USA
and for
Mexico,
me maybe I don't watch soccer. I haven't watched 1 minute of the World Cup. It's so maybe if I have to be around the environment, maybe then I might get excited about it and change my tune a little bit, but because I think atmosphere plays into it. And I know what a college rivalry game is like, going to Purdue IU games, and just the buzz on campus and stuff like that. And yes, it probably is the same for the USA Mexico and probably 10 times as much. But, it just, to me, it doesn't hold my interest that long. Like when we were in Boston, Sam, in 2014, when the World Cup was happening, and, in Boston, people were going crazy and things like that because we went to the Red Sox game and, they were giving away USA stuff. It was exciting, but it waned, right? And I think part of it is every 4 years versus every year, for me.
Right. Yeah.
It's
Well, that's soccer culture,
right.
Soccer watching culture. And like I watch soccer year round all the time. Like I'm more likely on a Saturday in the fall to watch the Premier League than the noon kickoff games, unless Bama's playing. So, or UC. So, but that's just what I watch because that's what I enjoy watching. So, but yeah, I guess that's a rivalry in of itself is U.S. soccer fans versus non-soccer fans.
Football versus soccer. Chips and crips. All right.
Oh, it's called soccer to English speakers. So.
Yeah. All right. So we have, once again, our recap here for the best rivalries in sports. Chime in. Leave us a comment on our Instagram page or Twitter at Cincy Sports Scene. We have OSU, Michigan, the game, number 1. Then the Army Navy, the second game, number 2. Duke, UNC, number 3. USA versus Mexico at number 4. And then the Yankees, Red Sox at 5. If there's one that we missed out there that you think might be better, go ahead and chime in, and let us know what you think, and tell us what we got right and what we got wrong. So with that, next week's show, it's going to be a good one. We are coming up with our 2022 end of year awards for the sports area here in Cincinnati. So stay tuned as we come up with a list of awards and criteria, and we're going to select the teams and players that fit that category. So some will be fun, some will be disappointing probably, but overall it'll be a good time and hopefully a good listen for you. So if you got a category you want us to try to answer, go ahead and put that also in the comment section in Twitter or Instagram, and we'll look at it and come up with a player or team to fit that category. So for Charlie and Sam, I'm Dave. I just want to thank you again for listening, and give us a 5-star review, and find us on all of your podcasting platforms. And don't forget, this will be out. Our video will be out on YouTube later this week. Until next week, have a great rest of your week. Take care.
See ya.
See ya.